Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Own Your Image Beyond the Mirror. I'm Deshante,
And I am Kanae.
and today we have with us a very special guest, Wynn Charles. Hi, Wynn. We're super excited to have you on today.
Hi, ladies. How are you guys?
Good, good. We will let you introduce yourself to the audience and let them know who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Win, and yes, Win is my legal name, WIN. Let's get that straight out of the door. I am a journalist with cerebral palsy. I am a also retired, recovering early childhood educator. I quit my job slash lost my job in March of 2019, and I've been a journalist for about a good year now, the majority of 2020 slash a couple of days into 2021 as we record this. And so I love what I do. My main disability is cerebral palsy. Off of that, I have sleep apnea, reflux disease, and then I am getting soon to be diagnosed with asthma.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. When it looks like, even though you may have, your illnesses, you are still here being a journalist and sharing your testimony. So we are super excited that, you're on with us. And we want to hop right into the first question for you.
Okay, let's do this.
What does the word faith mean to you?
Faith means to me, it means to me that there is a spiritual power looking out for me. I, as we call this, I was stuck in a situation last week without faith. It would have been a tragic situation for myself and other people involved. And faith means to me that something is out there protecting and guiding all of us. And whether you believe it or not, you have to believe in good karma and you have to believe in universal powers. So why not attach faith to it? Why not attach the word of God to it?
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, I like what you say about your most recent experience last week. Had you not had faith, it would not have only affected you, but also the people, surrounding you. I think that's something really I think the audience can take away from that. Sometimes faith is not just about you and what you're doing, but it's also for the people around you to be that pillar that has that faith for potentially the person next to you that may not have that can see through. So I think that's really powerful that you said that, and something I think the audience can take note on. Faith is not just you, faith is people around you as well. So when the next question is, how do you activate your faith in your life and as a journalist?
Well, I try um, to study the Bible every single morning, except last week due to a situation I was in, I had no capabilities to study the Bible. And I try and do a Bible study with others, um, 5:30 a.m. every single morning, and I will be returning to that tomorrow morning. And I have my face with as a I have my face by myself. I really don't talk about my face in my journalism unless people really ask me, because face gives people like heebie-jeebies. Although people know that I'm a woman of faith, so they know that I'm an openly gay woman too, who's a woman of faith, who has a disability. And so they pretty much know that if they want to talk about higher powers and the universe and karma and all that good stuff, they can with me. But I try and keep my work as diagnostic as I can, just because people will be either swings to the right, whereas they will believe, and others will not. And if the haters want to hate, they can. If the haters want to hate, they can. They can walk away from my work and then unsubscribe and just let me be me.
All right. I love that. That last part. Okay. I love everything that you said. You represent your faith, and that, if people don't want to believe in the faith you believe in, hey, they don't want to work with you, they don't want to be around you, that's on them. I would like to ask how your faith and your journey with cerebral palsy has played a part. Like, how has it helped you, or in that journey?
It has. It has. Um there are days it's been tough with CP, especially with COVID going on. Um, COVID has made, and this is going to make me cry, COVID has made it extremely tough on those with disabilities, because we're at high risk for COVID. And my biggest fear is um, my biggest fear is going into the hospital and not being able to come out. And that's what almost happened last week. I had a near death experience, and I was able to overcome that, and I'm able to move on to that. But because of the lack of medical care, and because of the lack of um, support due to COVID, I COVID and a disability do not mix in general. And so I think my faith has kept me strong, has kept me going, has and I live with one person who's atheist. She'll say I'm an atheist loud and proud, and she doesn't get it. I'm a Catholic slash I'm another religion, which I won't get into. But my roots are Catholic, and my mother raised me Catholic, and this this individual who I live with, who is my stepmom, is loud and proud atheist, and let people be people and let them be them and who they are. But I will always have my faith, including when I leave my own home state, which is soon. Here I will be leaving to go on my next adventure, and I will always have my faith. I will always have my faith and always carry it with me.
That's really powerful, Wynn, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. Having your faith, no matter where you are, taking it in every aspect of your life, wherever you go. Because the funny thing about life is it's always moving. And so your faith has to come with you. And I think that's another really great, note for the audience, for myself as well, that faith is not something that just sort of starts and then when you get through something it stops. It's like you're going, so your faith needs to be going wherever you're going. Faith needs to be there to get you through good times, bad people, good people, all of it. So I really like that you said that, and faith goes with you wherever you go. That's good.
Yep.
I guess our next question is, how have you, man, I guess, what was the biggest leap of faith for you? I know prior to you becoming a journalist, you said that you were an educator. Tell us what that transition was like and what type of faith it took to get to that, because that's, very two different professions.
Journalism and early childhood education. Well, back in March, I went to a journalism conference, and it wasn't a early childhood education conference in the least. It was a podcasting conference slash journalism conference. I host my own podcast, Ask When. I'm very well known for it. People know about it. And so when I went to that conference before the pandemic, before borders were shut down, before everything went interesting on all of us in 2020, I I was in the room and these two very famous podcasters gave me a shout out. I was in the back of the room and they gave me a shout out, and I was ready to quit my job. I knew what was coming. I was ready to quit my job in May. And then when I sent the email to my boss saying, well, do you want me to mask up and glove up and come in and help? And they go, no, because we don't have a plan. I'm like, well, just like everyone else was, I was listening to the news every which way and not um and knowing that most schools were going online learning because the whole country was going into lockdown. So when they said we don't have a plan, I said, well, I am I said gracefully, I'm not returning, and I left it at that. And the response was, "You were a deep part of this community, and you were. If you ever need us, let us know." And then, unbeknownst to me, I found out behind the scenes that they were struggling to get their teachers online, and they know I'm so good at technology. Why not ask? So that was, but they didn't ask, and they still haven't asked, and so that was the leap of faith that I took back in March 13th of 2019.
Love that. I love that. So basically, it was just the pandemic kind of pushed you into pursuing, what you always had wanted to pursue. So it's basically like a push, and so you're in it now. So congratulations on
Yep,
that podcast and just taking that leap of faith, because we know
yep.
to do that in the midst of a pandemic is, again, it requires faith.
So I took that leap of faith in the midst of the pandemic. Um, I remember crying openly on a airplane, and I'm like, okay, you just spent over $1,000 on a fabulous trip. Why are you openly weeping? Well, I was openly weeping because I was leaving a place that is very near and dear to my heart. And I tried to go back there to live. It didn't work out for me. But I I was also openly weeping because I didn't know what was coming next. And by the time I got to Chicago O'Hare International Airport, I figured out. I thought, okay, life is about to turn upside down the moment you get off this airplane. And then that next week, I emailed my boss and said, do you want me to come in? And they go, no, because we don't have a plan. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't have a teacher.
Wow. Wow.
And they were like, and I'm like, nope, I was shoved in the corner by you guys for too long. And I'm like, this is time for me to leave.
I love it. You know what? I think you said something there that's a really good nugget for the audience. You said you were weeping because you didn't know what was going to happen, and then you had to go through that. And I think that's an important part to acknowledge. We do weep, right? When we're in a transition and we're uncertain and we're nervous or we're scared or we get fearful and we don't know what's going to happen next. But then you just really took that leap of faith, as we call it, and you made the decision to go back to go into your calling after you realize that the job wasn't going to be for you anymore. And so that's a really good nugget. We may cry in the valleys, but on the other side of that is an opportunity for us to excel. So
Yeah.
Sorry guys, I was muted. We want to switch gears a little bit and talk about this show is obviously about activating your faith, and also self-care. We've learned that self-care is such a huge component of being an entrepreneur and stepping out on faith. What does your self-care routine sort of look like? What does self-care mean to you?
Well, if I hold up a toy for self care, people are going to laugh at me, but I am going to hold up a toy for self care, and it's called this, and it's called iPhone with music on it, and music is part of my self care. I mean, I have a Google sitting next to me, which is not open up yet. I just got a Apple Apple speaker mini, and so music is part of my self care.
love that. Love that. Yeah, definitely. Music definitely, can take you to different places. It can relax you. It can make you happy. It can bring back memories. So I love that you use music as a tool for self-care. What else do you do for self-care? Is there or something you may want to add into your life maybe this year for your self-care routine?
I I want to take at least one day of social and social media disconnect, and then um, take one day where I can turn my phone off, and that's not happening quite yet, but once I once I make a move, take another leap of faith in my life, and I don't know the details yet, but I'm hoping that after this, I take this leap of faith that will happen where I can take at least one day off a week.
For entrepreneurs out there that are listening to Win and to listen to us, taking the social media part, when I think I have a problem with that too. I have a problem with just disconnecting because so many of us are using platforms such as Instagram and Facebook and now Clubhouse, Twitter, Snapchat. There's so many apps that have us really just connected to our phone and trying to connect with people, especially in the midst of COVID with everything being shut down. Those apps have been a blessing, don't get me wrong, but also sometimes it's good to just take a step back, and that's a good thing to add to self-care is just taking a step back from the technology because it can become too much. It can become too much and you can get lost in it. So I'm with you on that as well. Taking time and days away from social media is, I think, pivotal to anybody who is an entrepreneur or anybody, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you're walking and working in your purpose as a nurse, doctor, whatever your purpose is, really just taking a step back from social media.
Yep.
Yeah, society as a whole, that's everybody do that. So
Yes, please.
we've talked about your faith, we've talked about the self-care a little bit. I know that you are just now on your new venture with the journalism. Can you tell us a little bit about, can you hear me? Sorry. Oh, sorry. Can you all hear me?
No, we can't hear you. Sorry, guys, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Maybe try again, Shantae.
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So I was just saying, when I know that you just started in the journalism, and can you give the audience and us a little bit about how you manage your time as a journalist, hosting the podcast, and just living your day-to-day life?
Living my day-to-day life. Well, that's a good one. I put and a lot of people have been asking me this. How do you do this when you have a chronic disability such as sleep apnea and asthma and acid reflux disease, all under the auspices of cerebral palsy? And cerebral palsy comes first. And there are days where I tell my fan base that it doesn't happen very often, but there are days I will tell my fan base, look, this is what you get. Now deal with me. And my fan base has been around me long enough to know that, and I'm very open about my faith, and I'm very open about my cerebral palsy, not so much my faith on my podcast because we're not a faith related podcast, but I do say I'm a woman of faith, and I haven't gone into complete detail, and I probably won't until I get to my next adventure here. But I always put cerebral palsy first. That is a given. That is a given. I need help during the day. I need help at night. I need help 24/7. So if CP is having a bad day, I can't do anything to help it. And last week, CP just had a bad week due to the environment. And I put it first. I wasn't going to push my body to sit up in a chair. And if it didn't want to, now that my environment's put back together just a little bit, it's more CP is more likely to work with me, but CP doesn't do well with stress. Let's just say that. And I always put my disabilities first and foremost before anything else.
Yeah, that makes complete sense because you have to be in the best condition and make sure that your health is right before you can pursue, everything else in life. So thank you for sharing that with the listeners. That's another tool.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about everything, and we have one final question for you. How do you keep yourself accountable?
I tell everyone what I'm doing. I tell people what I'm doing, and that's how I keep myself accountable. I tell people what I'm doing, and I tell people, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is when I'm doing it, this is how I'm doing it. And so that's how I keep myself accountable.
I think that is a great way to say and to keep your accountability is sharing what you're going to do with people. Because if you share it, people are going to ask and they're going to want to know, like, people will tend to hold you to your words. So if you make that very plain and clear what you're doing, not just to yourself but to other people, it's one thing to say it to yourself, but when you start involving other people, um, you tend to do it because people are relying on you. So that's good. Well, Win, we thank you so much for being with us here today. We thank you for this special time with you and just learning more about your journey, learning more about you becoming an entrepreneur. I know it's blessed me. I hope that it's blessed the audience as well. Before we part, we would love for you to let the audience know about your podcast, anything that you have coming up, and how people can stay connected with you.
Geez, talk about bad audio, bad bugs, and so people can stay connected with me through askwin.webelize.com, and people can stay connected via Facebook, via Clubhouse, via Twitter, via I'm hanging out more on Facebook nowadays, but as I said, I'm trying to take a couple of days off, and so I will be on and off Facebook, but people can listen to my podcast on any platform they see fit, on any audio platform they see fit, including Google, including Amazon Alexa, and including the Amazon smart speaker. So they can see what I'm up to if they follow the podcast, and if they follow my weekly TV show on IMBTV, which could be found on YouTube. They can also see me on that, and they can also, if they type in my name, Win WIN, on YouTube, they can also pull up my personal channel, or they can pull up many interviews with me on YouTube / podcasting. And so if you have the Apple iPhone, you can subscribe to Ask Win on the Apple Podcast app, or if you have a capability that you have access to a smart speaker, just ask the Amazon smart speaker for Ask Win, or just follow me that way, and then you guys can Google my name, and I'm happy to talk to you. And I'm always looking for guests on my podcast. If you guys want to come on my podcast and share your story.
Amazing. You're doing amazing things, Win. We thank you. So,
Thank
guys,
you.
you know how to stay in contact. Looks like Win is everywhere. Winning. Win is winning. So thank you again so much. We certainly appreciate this. And I guess until next time, guys, we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.